Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for a cherry on top to share with you this snow-filled layout. So I have made a snow shaker as well as used a combination of some Brutus Monroe as well as some simple stories for really a breaking out of the box layout. So I have this, it's a cookie jar, really, die, and I've left it intact for the top and the bottom. And then I'm putting tape on the back of the die to hold the inner part because I want to do multiple cuts from it, and this way I am keeping the pieces together and not having to constantly realign things. So it does present an obstacle, but it still makes what I want to do work. So I want to have some layers for the depth of the shaker. I know I'm going to use foam, but by having paper layers, it's a little bit more substance to it. And then I'm using some acetate from a cherry on top for my shaker clear layer at the top. And so this is where having the washi tape holding the die presents a problem because the washi tape is not only holding the die in place, but is holding the paper there. And I should have moved the paper in order to get a clean cut of the acetate, but you can see all it's done is leave an impression on the acetate, and so I end up fussy cutting it, which is easy because it's literally, for the most part, straight lines with rounded corners, right? So easy, and I also know where the inner part of the jar is going to be. My intent is not to actually, it is a jar, but it's going to be a jar full of snow instead of a jar full of cookies. Yeah, maybe not as appealing to some of you as a jar full of cookies might be, right? So now I'm going to do the outer border. The jar itself is from this navy blue, and all of the pattern paper that I'm using today, I shouldn't say all, for this jar I am using Brutus Monroe. So this is the outer part of the jar. It'll be the lid and the outer part. And then I want a backing for the jar, so what the sequence is going to move against. So I've got my layers, I've got the outer part of the jar, and then I'm going to pull this apart because I don't want that inner window. I want the backing. And so the inner part and the washi has been pulled off, and now you can see how easy it is to cut the backing. So that will be what the sequence moves against. So now I've got all of my pieces to make my sequence shaker, and I'm going to construct or layer. So I'm going to put double-sided adhesive on the acetate, and then I'm going to attach that to the inside of that dark blue window frame of the bottom of the shaker. So just making sure that it goes around the corners, and honestly this doesn't matter so much. I didn't really need to spend as much time obsessing about these corners as I did the bottom, because that's where the sequins are and you don't want them to fall out of those corners, whereas here it just needs to be adhered to this top layer, because that'll be the top layer of the sandwich, with the bread being the top layer, and then the backing, as well as the sequence that will be in between, which is being held in place by the foam and / the double layer or multiple layers of the frame. So here we are putting the window in the frame. So that is the top layer of the sandwich. And then we are going to work on the bottom layer. So the bottom layer is that snow background there, and we want to build that up, and we want to make sure that we build that up as high as the thickest piece of sequence or layers of sequence that will be on the inside there. So I like to use layers. I know a lot of card makers, they just punch out about 6 or 7 layers of pattern paper. I'm good with the foam. It just saves me time, especially given that this was a die that I had to hold together. Make sure when you are cutting foam that you have clean scissors. If you have any adhesive on your scissors, like I did these particular scissors, you will not get clean cuts if you are trying to cut double-sided foam. So you can see I switched my scissors here. These are the ones that cut really, really well. These are my Fiskars spring-loaded scissors that I have had forever. I did get a pair with a cherry box, and I like those. I also had a really fantastic subscriber, Diane, who sent me a pair, and I'm still hanging on to those. I still have them unopened because these have served me really well. And those are my backup. I always say, you know, it's Murphy's Law, right? If you don't have them, you need them. And if you need them, you don't have them. So I do have a backup pair and I don't need them. So just cutting the foam to go around the corners, and then also cutting off the small little edge bits of foam that you can see. I don't want that to be visible. And so I'm just trimming that off. Now I'm ready to go. So this is an anti-static pouch from Tim Holtz or Ranger. And so just rubbing that in the bottom. I still get a little bit of static, but that's okay. They don't all stick to the acetate. So this is a PinkFresh Studio sequence mix. I think it's called Nostalgic Times or something along those lines. It's in the supply list over at A Cherry on Top. And then I added a little bit of glitter. So that was also from a cherry box that I had. And voila, there is your shaker. So I know I want this as a main embellishment to this page. Now I'm going to break out of the box really. In many ways, this is a grid layout because I'm going to use 4 6x6 pieces of pattern paper, cut them in half, and literally put 4 3x4s down the page, skewed to the right hand side. Really nothing technical, nothing complicated about this. I did have to think about balance of the colors though. I wanted heavy or darker on top with the lighter sandwich in the middle. If I had had all that, just provides contrast to the photos that are going to be in that third rectangle from the top, or the second one up from the bottom, depending on how you wanted to count that. So literally, right? Nothing complicated about this at all. And it's a simple, easy way of using 6x6 paper pads. If you follow my work, if you know me, you know that I am all about my pocket cards, my 4x6 pocket cards, and grid layouts, and making them appear less gritty by putting things slightly askew and going outside of the lines of the box. So these are some PinkFresh Studio metal dies. They're actually from last year, but they're still available over at A Cherry on Top. And then this is some silver glitter paper from AC, American Crafts. Make sure you have an extra wedge layer when you are cutting this, so an extra shim. This here does not work. I'm going to spare you the agony of me using the shim to get these to cut out, but they do cut out. These snowflakes have lots of intricate pieces to them, so I also had to spend a fairly long time punching out all of the intricate pieces, and I spared you the agony of that. So these are my favorite tag sheets from Simple Stories. Every collection has them, and I buy every single one. I may not buy anything else from the collection, but I absolutely love these tags. And what I love is that, like, this is plain on this side, but if you were to flip it over, there is printed material on the other side. So very multi-purpose. So I am pulling out coordinating colors, so pretty much all blues here, and then some tan. It does have a little bit of pink, and you'll see how I pull the pink into the embellishments to just tie those tags into the rest of it. Using my We Are Memory Keepers hole punch. I absolutely love this hole punch. Thank you, Heidi, for turning me on to this. And I'm going to use that to house both my journaling as well as my title here. In usual Suzanna fashion, I am going to do the title off camera, and it will say Snowfall. Very simple. I will tie some pink into that with the title. But in the meantime, the fine intricate detail of these snowflakes is easiest to adhere them with liquid adhesive. It is a very slick back, so you do have to hold the snowflakes themselves down onto the page to get a little bit of pressure to get them to adhere. So you can see I've got 2 pictures there. The one on the left hand side was pretty close to 11 o'clock, I want to say. 10:59 or something like that. It's in the journaling. And then the right hand side picture is 2 hours later. So that's the snow accumulation for this particular snowfall. I live in Central Virginia. We do not get a lot of snow. Last year we literally got 1 dusting and that was it. These pictures are actually from 2021, I want to say. It's also on there. So that is the foundation of the layout. And then I just want to go in and fine tune with a little bit of embellishment. And I'm going to use the sticker book as you see there, from Simple Stories, the coordinating sticker book. It's Winter Wonder is the name of the collection. I love that little bear. He's been in other Simple Stories collections, but he works well with the Brutus Monroe Let's Chill pattern paper and the animals that are in there. And then I'm just going to layer up a couple of things just for a little bit of visual interest, but those pattern papers are pretty busy and I don't want to take too much busy to the page, because then it becomes visually distracting and you miss the point of the photos and the storytelling that's going on there. So just some very simple decoration, because really, like I said earlier, the main embellishment is that shaker there, to mimic the falling snow of the intent of the pictures, to document the passage of time and how much snow has accumulated there. So this is my layout for A Cherry on Top. If you go over to the blog, that will link you to my gallery project, which will also link you to the products. Enjoy the close-ups. I hope you've learned something new about shakers. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Come back again soon. Take care.